Scope, scope, scope. Science under the scope.
This is my guest today, Dr. Joseph Parker.
Hi.
He works at Columbia University and does a little bit of everything, really. Why don't you tell us about it?
So my day job is developmental genetics of insects, where I work with Drosophila. When I was 16 or so, I got interested in a group of beetles called Salaphids, and this is a massive group of insects. There's thousands and thousands of these things, and they all differ in size and shape. They've all got the same number of body segments and limbs, but the dimensions of these structures are grown to different extents. And I have been building a gigantic phylogenetic tree of these beetles.
Alright, so let's get to that. So basically, why we're here is because you have just recently published a paper where you actually describe a new genus and species of
Salaphoid, yeah. So the cool thing about this guy is it's one of the largest members of this subfamily. So that is the most amazing Salaphid I've ever seen. It's 5.1 millimeters, which is, you know, colossal in Salaphid terms. It's a myrmecophile, which means that it inhabits ant colonies. It was found in the Peruvian Amazon in an ant nest. Apparently walking around the nest, not being bothered by the ants. Normally when insects walk into ants' nests, well they don't, they never get that far, they're, you know, dismembered and used as food. This thing can walk in there and presumably preys on the brood.
So how does that work?
So that's a very good question, and this is another thing that one of the many projects that I'm interested in. So there are many lineages of animals that have evolved to live inside ant colonies and exploit the resources there, and the mechanisms they use to do that are, for the large majority of cases, unknown, but it likely involves some kind of chemical mimicry of the ants themselves. They either synthesize these cuticular hydrocarbons themselves, or obtain them from the ants, probably through direct contact. So the chances are this thing is big and armoured and probably gets attacked by ants and can kind of pull itself together like a turtle or something like this.
Or just acting like a rock.
Yeah, exactly. Pet rock.
And it smells like the ants.
Well, no, and so I suspect that ants, initially when it wanders into nests, ants probably do have a go at attacking it. But in so doing, they transfer a lot of their hydrocarbons onto its body, and after a while, they can no longer see it, and it's invisible to them.
How do you know that it is actually a new genus species and not just
so
something that you haven't come across in a book?
That takes a while. Okay, it's really sort of experience.
Do these salaphids
Yeah.
hang out with bigger ants than smaller salaphids?
It's a very good question. Is it? Yeah, it's well done. Yeah. Do I have to answer it?
I mean, if you can.
Okay, I would say no, but in the paper I do mention that some of the biggest salaphines that we know about tend to be ones that live inside ant colonies.
That was a good question. I didn't read your paper. Jobogaster tawai. Am I saying that right?
Jubogaster tawai.
Jubogaster tawai.
Yeah.
Is this actually a reference to Lewis Carroll's Jabberwocky?
It's actually not. No. It's
What exactly is it?
okay, so if you remember, I said that this thing looks like it could be in Trogastrony or Jubini.
I do remember.
Okay, the type genus of Jubini and Trogastrony are respectively Jubus and Trogaster, which is where the names of those tribes come from. Okay, and so because this thing looked like a mix of both, I put Jubus and Trogaster together, and you get Jubogaster.
And what about the tawai?
So the guy who found it is an absolutely amazing field entomologist from Japan called Taku Shimada. We named it after his newborn son, who is Towa Shimada. So this kid, I think he is just turned 1 and has a species of beetle named after him. So.
I see that you've also done a bit of a crowdfunding project.
Yeah, because I kind of do this off my own back and not off my own coin, and pursue it in my spare time. Maybe I could get some money to help me collect some of these things and finish a really big project which I've been working on for a very long time, which is building this gigantic molecular phylogeny of this entire group. Because I'm not directly funded for that, I'm only funded for my Drosophila work, I thought this would be quite a good idea.
The molecular phylogeny being an evolutionary tree.
Yes,
Of
of Salaphids, yeah.
Right.
There were two things that I needed. I needed money for sequencing, because I'm sequencing multiple genes for, 200 of these things. And I needed to get some specimens from South America, which I didn't have.
What good is it to find? Why do we need to find more beetles? I mean, really,
Well,
who gives a shit about beetles anyway?
if you think about these beetles, there are tons of them in these tropical forest ecosystems. Anything that's that abundant is obviously there because it, is filling some niche.
If somebody is interested and wants to contact you, how should they reach you?
You can email me at dibasic, dibasic @gmail.com. Yeah, if you find some Salaphids, I'd be more than happy to have a look at them.
Or really, just any insect.
Yeah, I like it.
I think you should send him anything you find.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of cockroaches in America. I don't want those.
All right, Joe.
Thank you.
Thanks for meeting with us. It was nice talking to you.
My pleasure. Mostly your
We'll
pleasure.
check back in.
Yeah.
Science under the scope.